things that he grew up with. His mom wanted to make sure that he was indoctrinated with in his upbringing, and you can definitely see. I thought it was very touching when he told us that he'd actually performed that song for his mom. And the normal songs that he's usually used to producing are, probably more, out and about, entertaining kind of venues, those kind of deals. And he actually plays a very heartfelt song for his mom. I bet she broke down. She had to.
Listen, I like all kinds of music. We were just talking about the fact, everybody in this room was kind of talking about the neat things that they're going to go see and do. And I, in a couple of weeks, get a chance to see Ben Harper, who was wildly influential for me in my 20s when I was just trying to find myself. And then I get to take my parents down to see Van Morrison. My stepdad is a huge Van Morrison fan. He's the reason why I have any good taste in music. And he and Dan Fogelberg as well. Love me some Fogelberg. I think he maybe falls in that Americana a little bit. And so I get to take him, and I got them tickets in the orchestra. And I know that there's going to be a moment where all three of us hold hands and cry. We're seeing Van Morrison, who doesn't tour that much and is wildly private and cantankerous and all those things. And so when music makes you feel, like that song just made me feel, it made me think. I mean, I was over here listening to him, watching across the street, the guy who was loading the truck and starting his day and bringing the deliveries and the groceries to the restaurant across the street. And I was thinking about him paying his dues and doing his job, and what was he working for? What family is he working for? What dreams is he working for? And that's what that song evoked in me.
I can see how it would too. Definitely.
Isn't that pretty amazing?
It's awesome. I'm sitting there thinking about some of the things that we kind of come across, especially on our time apart from each other, because we do the show once a week. And obviously, you do a lot of things during the week on your SiriusXM platform, and you do public speaking, things like that. You got to do a TED Talk this week.
I got to do a TED Talk.
I mean, I didn't get an invite to do that.
I can pass your name along.
No, I don't want you to. I'm just, tell me about that experience. What was that like?
So I always heard so I dated this guy. He actually was a firefighter in Nashville last year, at the end of last year, and or maybe it was 2 years ago. And we were sitting in his truck, and he let me see this 10, 20-second clip of this TED Talk, and it was really inspirational, motivational, and so that's all I really knew of TED Talks. And I'd seen him on YouTube and this, that, whatever. So then somebody says, we're doing this TEDx event, which is kind of like the minor leagues of TED.com. And TED stands for Technology, Education, and Development. And they started out, it's people around the globe in all of these countries, and very famous people a lot of times give them. It's an 18-minute or less talk. It's a new take, a new idea, a fresh take on an old, on an existing idea. So it needs to be something new, something fresh. There's a lot of pressure to it, and it's not a keynote speech, because a lot of times keynote speakers fail miserably because it's 18 minutes. That's it. It has to be under 18 minutes. And I got asked to give one, and I'll tell you this much, Brad. I've been speaking for 10 years, but I went, and this is, I think, the lesson in it. I got coached. I went and found a friend who was a TED Talker.
Oh, yeah.
And he coached me all week long. And so I would speak it and send it to him. He'd say, not there yet. This is what you need to change. Speak it, send it to him. Speak it, send it to him. Speak it, send it. And we did this about 4 or 5 times over, to where I hit about 7 of the marks that he wanted me to hit, and he told me about storytelling, having them hang on the edge of their seat, keeping them, in the game, being passionate, excluding these words. And I spoke on, my whole deal was kicking fear in the face. So I had a shirt that said "Kick Fear in the Face," and my whole deal was, oftentimes your greatest blessing lies right in the middle of your greatest fear. And we don't ever go get that blessing because we're too afraid of what it is, of dying, of quitting the job, of taking the leap of faith, of being sick, or whatever it may be. We're too afraid of it, and we don't realize that what's inside of it is often your greatest blessing. And I use Kevin Turner as an example in climbing the mountain and climbing Kilimanjaro for him, and almost dying on Kilimanjaro. And I believe, I don't know, I believe it was powerful, judging from the effect of the audience. And here's where it could have just been great, and it could have been one night, but here's what happens now. In the next 3 weeks, the curators go and they edit it all down and make it look really good and professional, and then they send it to TED.com. And if it gets picked up by TED.com, it could get millions upon millions of views, and it could be something big for Kevin, for ALS, for people that are, and here's the last thing I'll say about it. I left him with this. I said, I feel like in this room, there's the next great author of the next great book. There's the next great executive. There's the next great inventor. But I'm afraid that some of you won't ever go and realize your full potential because you are too paralyzed by your fear.
So that's why it's so important to conquer your fears, because like you just said, there might be some morsel of the treasure that's in there, and once you accomplish that, you achieve it.
Well, let me say this. Kevin diagnosed ALS 6 years ago, right? And he ends up needing a nurse. And Kevin Turner, who played, was a fullback at Alabama Patriots, Eagles, Ed Block Courage Award winner, one of the 8 players diagnosed for ALS from the NFL, he needs a nurse. Nurse starts nursing him and helping him, you know, feed him and different things that happens with Lou Gehrig's disease. Nurse and Kevin fall in love.
Oh,
Nurse and Kevin get married. So what was Kevin's greatest blessing other than his children? Falling in love and getting married when he was stricken and wheelchair bound with ALS.
Amen.
How about them
awesome.
apples?
That is awesome. Hey, you know what? That sounds like a very touching situation that you were involved in the TED Talks.
Yeah.
Obviously, yours was very impactful.
Yeah.
What's another one that kind of left you like, man, you were feverishly taking notes on? What was somebody else's speech that really kind of resonated with you?
Yeah, there was a guy named Jason Womack who's an amazing speaker and leadership author and all of that. And he just talked about, you know, about going forward. He talked about not being seen and not wanting to be seen as a kid, and how he parlayed that into going forward as an adult. And he was at a conference and he went up to the speaker and the speaker gave him his card and he said, you know, kind of blew him off.
Yeah.
Saw the speaker on the street, spoke to him again. Speaker didn't even remember him. Went home, wrote a 9-page book. I mean, not 9 pages, 9 chapters of a book. 9 pages. Whoa.
Well, that's a quick book.
9 chapters of a book. Printed it, sent it to him, and in 2 weeks had a book deal.
Shut up.
Yes.
That is
yes.
awesome.
And I mean, you talk about. I'm like back there going, what can I do? What can I do? What can I accomplish? I mean, you feel like you can. Yeah.
How'd you feel you did on your speech? You nailed it. Give yourself a grade.
I think I had a B.
Come on.
I'm a nitpicker. I'm a nitpicker.
Just say a little bit that you just gave me right there was like an A-.
But there were people crying, eyes as big as saucers. Audible.
What, when you were talking?
Yes.
I'd say that's more than a B. Come on, man. You have people crying and you're going to give yourself a B. Rachel, get out of here right now.
You get out of here.
I can't believe you're even trying to. Obviously, what you said, it touched some people. And the way that I can only imagine the way that you articulated it, because you're a very, as you like to call it, spicy Latina.
I am a spicy
You're an emotional, speaker when you get up there. So I imagine that what you were saying obviously touched some people, especially from, and I'm not saying anything about your gender, but being in this industry, you are a minority.
I am a minority.
As a female talking about sports. So when you talk about conquering fears, etc., I mean, some people are like, man, if there's anyone they could talk about, it'd be her.
Yeah, and that's kind of the intro that they gave whenever I walked up. They were like, "Oh, this girl's been to a professional football training camp."
Is that how they sound like this?
That's exactly how they sound. Yeah, that's exactly how he sounded. That's exactly how he sounded. So, I gotta ask you, and not just to change the subject. I gotta ask you though, Brad. We've been this theme we've been hitting today. This whole in love with Nashville. Why are you in love with Nashville?
Because I didn't want to be, and it just hooked
What?
me. It didn't.
What's that story?
I was drafted by the 4th largest city in the country, so when they started talking about us moving to Nashville after we played a preseason game against the Redskins in Knoxville, we were upset. He says, "Are you kidding me? Stop it already." They told us, "You need to start looking for residency in here because this is where you're going to live," and we didn't think it was going to happen. Mm-hmm. And we fought it tooth and nail, as far as getting here. And of course, we were transients for a number of years, a couple of years before we actually got our dig settled. And then I think that it was really. It wasn't the winning, but it was just the quiet community.
Yes.
Where people weren't pretentious, where it just seemed like, and you can get everywhere in 20 minutes. That's not a lie. You know what I'm saying?
It's not. And
I would quietly be finding myself wondering what was going on in Nashville when I'd be in Houston. Until I finally sold a house in Houston and we stayed here all the time. So it grew on me.
It grew on you.
Yeah. And I will say this, the city is completely different than 1997 when I first got here, okay? I mean, you have so many different industries here now. The even landscape of downtown past 8th Street looks completely different.
Well, there's cratons all over the city.
What the hell was the Gulch back in 97? It was, you know what I'm saying? So now you start to look at these areas, and people are starting to come to this influx of people. They're starting to come and say, man, Nashville is a metropolis. And I've got to see the foundation.
The foundation, and you got to see you got to watch it grow, watch her grow.
Right here, where we are at right now, Rachel. Back in the day, this was the freak spot.
I know this all downtown was adult.
Walking down the street, and they cleaned it up somewhat.
Yes.
And obviously now you got this dude with a Hard Rock hat on, is 2 stories tall, on the building across the street. There's industry here.
You've gotten to see it grow, Brad. I did hear as we're closing. We'll save the Bobby Bowden story for next week.
Oh no!
We let it breathe. We'll let it say. We'll save it for next week. But I did hear. Do you guys know anything about this? About the proposed transit system?
Mm-hmm.
Didn't we talk briefly about that a couple weeks ago?
No, I just heard about it last night, and I'm so excited. We're actually getting something. It's happening. We got to do something to combat the traffic. And what are you? What?
I don't want a monorail. I don't want to. I mean, put it this way: we were in Chattanooga, like you just talked about.
Do you want to sit in traffic for hours?
You know what? I just don't want another form of mass transit contributing to the pollution and stuff. Unless you're talking about electric stuff, like the buses and stuff that we're starting to see in these cities.
Yeah.
Like Chattanooga had all electric buses. It was insane. I was like, I almost got hit by a bus, Rachel, because I didn't hear it. No, seriously. I think
we almost didn't have a co-host.
Don't they have electrical buses here in Justin shaking his head yes. So I think that as long as you can kind of stay on those lines, in other words, taking the power out of the oil industry's hands. You know what I'm saying? We don't need to be any more handcuffed to fuel like we have been and giving people power that don't need it. So let's start uncovering some of those biotechnological advances and all those other things in industry that they have not made us privy to. So that way we can get on the regular scale and stop all this craziness and violence.
All right, so do this for me. Let's next week we're going to go into a little radio tease. We're going to talk about the mass transit situation. We're going to get some great information on it. Maybe get somebody as a guest on. Megan Barry's a great friend of the show. We can call over to the mayor's office and get some information about what's being proposed, because it helps everybody who's visiting, everybody who lives here potentially. We want to know about it. We want pros and cons, know about it, what's planned. So we'll do that. I'm going to save my Bobby Bowden story because it deserves the opportunity to breathe. What are you thinking, Brad?
Well, why would you need a monorail when you got Uber? That's all I'm saying.
Oh, stop it. He knows I have a love affair with Uber. This morning, I was in Uber, by the way, talking about the Masters, because I'm heading down to the Masters today. And I got in, it's a beautiful morning, and the guy said, well, about 12 o'clock, I'll probably be golfing. And I said, well, I'm heading down to the Masters today. And he said, oh, my God, be still my beating heart. He's talking about the Masters. Have you ever been?
No, they don't allow black people.
Oh, you stop it!
Yeah, so
you
stop kind of hanging out up here in Nashville.
You stop it. We're going to go to the Masters next year together. And this is my third time I've been. I've been on a Saturday, Sunday. I've been on a Sunday. And then this is my first practice round. And I'm just telling you, look, this is the only way I can describe it. Even if you're not a golf fan, it is a slice of heaven on earth. It is the most beautiful, pristine place where not a blade of grass is
out of... Why don't you say slice?
Slice? The whole pie.
In a golf game, slice?
Oh,
why don't you say that?
A whole pie of heaven. A whole pie of heaven. Where not a blade of grass is out of place, and you got the world's best golfers, you got people that flock to it. And here's the cool thing. Today they allow phones, tomorrow they allow phones, Wednesday, but Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, they don't allow phones. If the stupid guy yells mashed potatoes, they drag him out. And you have pimento cheese sandwiches, and you got, it is a pie of Americana. It is a pie of everything that makes the golf great, and the big old USA great, and the South great. And so I'm taking you next year. We're going to the Masters. I got Masters fever, and I got golf fever. We're gonna play some golf together too. All right, he's Brad Hopkins. I'm Rachel Baribeau. You don't want to go anywhere, because next week we are going to talk about the mass transit system. We're going to tell this awesome Bobby Bowden story. I'll tell you about the Masters. I'll get in all of BHop's adventures.
And go to ACME Radio Live on Twitter and at Rachel Baribeau and at B_Hop72 to find out exactly who our guests are going to be.
Yes.
We'll have some artists and obviously sports figures come by too, along with their conversations.
All right, and Justin, as we go out, what's going on at ACME this week?
He wouldn't know. He's going to be in Milan.
Oh, he's going to be in Milan.
Oh, yeah, that's right. He's out of country.
You don't care.
No idea.
That's why I love this show.
Oh, no.
Complete honesty. He is going to Milan here now. And if you're just joining in, I will say this: our radio program, tell them, Justin, is one of two in the country that's being represented.
Yes, I do believe we and one other station here in the U.S. actually got invited to the International Radio Festival, and on Friday we'll actually be broadcasting live from Milan at 3 o'clock Central Standard Time.
Woo!
That is awesome.
Way to go, ACME Radio Live. 2 ways you can tune in: ACMERadioLive.com, the free TuneIn app, free TuneIn app, and just hit ACMERadioLive.com. 14 shows throughout the week, and amazing music you may not have heard anywhere else, and an ability to keep your finger on the pulse of everything Nashville. And Brad Hopkins, ladies and gentlemen, like, if you don't want to keep up with him, something's wrong with you.
Oh, you just hush. You just keep waving to your constituents here on First and Broadway out in the window. So we'll see you next week.
All right, have a good week. See you next week.